member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I was listening to the remarks of the member, the NDP member from Vancouver East, who I served on opposite sides in the BC legislature and now here. And I must admit, just a lot of what she had to say actually resonated with what I said. So what we feel here in the Conservative side, we're not totally in line, but I just want to begin by thanking the residents of Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge, and Mission for re-electing me to a third term. It's the first term for me representing part of Mission. I share it with my colleague from Mission, Matqui, Abbotsford. All right, got that down. Okay, so it's a privilege and a responsibility. Had 13,000 more votes this election compared to the last election, and I attribute it to different things. Obviously, our leader was a very powerful spokesperson, but I will say that people are struggling in my communities, or many people are, and across Canada, economically, and they're also concerned. A big concern is the rampant drugs and lawlessness that is sweeping our nation. That doesn't need to be, and which wasn't there prior to the Liberals being in power. When I went door to door, I would often ask people if they, think things have gotten better since the Liberals have been in terms of the economy, in terms of prosperity, crime, or in general. And I would say, if you really feel that way, then vote Liberal. But I didn't get anybody telling me that things had gotten better, and they haven't gotten better at all. Things have gotten a lot worse. This bill, C2, they're trying to make it look like they're doing something about crime. It's in the borders, it's full of half measures, and things they're overlooking, and things they're getting wrong. Canadians are deeply concerned about the alarming upswing of violence that is shaking our communities. It weighs heavily on us. And it's such a dichotomy. My riding is in the Vancouver area, and such a magnificent, beautiful area in the world, in the nation, to live in. And yet what we're seeing happening in our streets is just, and in the night and throughout the land is just totally out of sync. And it shouldn't be that way. There's horrific acts of violence that remind us of the urgent needs to restore safety and security in our country. Think of the tragic Lapu Lapu event in Vancouver, where 11 innocent lives were taken. Stands as one of the most devastating mass killings in our nation's history. Senseless killings, violent crime in communities across the nation. It's not isolated incidents. They reflect a disturbing trend of violence that Canadians everywhere are feeling. Violent crime is up 50% since the Liberals have been in. Gang-related homicides up 78%. Sexual violations against children, 118%. Human trafficking, 83%. Sexual assault, 74%. In BC, extortions are up 500%. For generations, I think since the opening of the West in Canada and in the US, there was a real contrast in our minds, in how we viewed Canada and how the world viewed Canada. Canada was known for peace, order, and good government, with the RCMP going on horseback and cleaning up places like Fort Whoop-Up what was before Alberta was a province, and that was filled with bandits and liquor smugglers. And you compared what was in Canada as opposed to the states of lawlessness. Well, that is no longer the case, Madam Speaker, and that's terrible. And people feel it. People tell me that they're worried about walking in their neighborhoods, about crime creeping closer to home, and whether or not their loved ones are truly safe. It's not the Canada we know, and it's not the Canada we should accept. But unfortunately, under this Liberal government, violent crime has gone up significantly. And the facts speak for themselves. After nearly a decade in office, the Liberals have failed to prioritize public safety. Their soft on crime policies include reduced sentences for serious offenders and the erosion of accountability in our justice system that have left communities vulnerable. Criminals are emboldened while victims and families are left behind. Conservatives take a different view. We believe that Canadians deserve to feel safe in their homes, in their streets, and in their communities. And that means ending catch and release bail policies that put dangerous repeat offenders back on the street. It means restoring tougher penalties for violent criminals and giving law enforcement the tool they need to do their jobs effectively. And it means supporting families and communities as they heal from tragedies. We owe it to the victims in every community shaken by violence. This government needs to stand up for the innocent, hold violent offenders accountable, and make public safety a true priority once again. For over a decade, we've urged this Liberal government to reverse dangerous policies that have left violent criminals walk free. They have allowed our borders become increasingly porous and left our justice system in disarray. I know that the member opposite, Liberals, said that, we put an extra $1 billion into border security. Well, the number of illegals going from Canada going to the States is up 600% since they've been in. And we actually don't really keep good track of those coming from the States to Canada. Everybody is pretty much welcome. Look at Roxham Road. And now, Mr. Speaker, after years of ignoring the warning signals, after thousands, tens of thousands of Canadians have become victims of repeat violent offenders, the Liberals are scrambling. They've dropped C2, a bloated omnibus bill that tries to do too much and achieves too little where it matters the most. Let me be clear that Conservatives are ready to support elements of this bill, but we're also deeply concerned about several provisions that don't go far enough or go in the wrong direction. What's the biggest failure of this bill? Failure to fix our broken bail system. The catch and release system. It's not just a phrase. It's a dangerous reality that Canadians are facing in their cities. Criminals, including those charged with trafficking fentanyl, smuggling firearms, or committing violent assaults, are being routinely released on bail, often within hours. In Vancouver, we saw the same 40 criminals arrested 5,000 times in 1 year. It's frustrating to police. So they tell me, what's the use of arresting people? The bill also fails to introduce mandatory prison sentences for fentanyl traffickers. It still allows house arrests for a shocking number of serious crimes, including some forms of sexual assault, kidnapping, and human trafficking. And it's too weak on crime, and it's far too strong when it comes to government overreach. We are extremely alarmed by the propositions in this legislation that threatens Canadians' civil liberties. Provisions that could allow government to open your mail without proper oversight. Measures that allow authorities to compel internet companies to hand over your private data without a warrant. And concerning language about limiting the use of cash, which is vital to our seniors and small businesses in rural communities. Thank you.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, we have a new Prime Minister Yes.
We have more new members of parliament than any other political entity in the House of Commons. And really, since the end of April, we have seen tax breaks for 20+ million Canadians.
That's right.
We have seen a stronger build one Canadian economy than
That
we have
they
ever
supported.
seen, Madam Speaker, in which they support it. The member talks about the need for bail reform. We have a prime minister with a new cabinet that is committed to bring in several pieces of bail legislation, some of which we're going to be seeing this fall, Madam Speaker. All of this in a very short period of time. But I tell you, listen to the Conservatives, including the member, the issue of misleading Canadians through debate is a concern.
Yeah.
They try to give the impression that any letter carrier can literally open up a letter anytime he or she wants. They try to give the impression that there's not going to be a need for a warrant to be able to open up a letter. Both of those are not true. Can he provide his thoughts on misleading information?
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Might be some a new Prime Minister and some new Liberal members, but it's the same old policy. As a matter of fact, we're seeing things getting worse. We're seeing the deficit, when they eventually put the budget forward, it looks like it's going to be double what was originally intended. We're seeing a lot of talk, and I'm hearing that on the doorsteps, and as I'm talking with businesses, they're saying, "Oh, sounds really good," but we're not seeing the evidence. And that this bill, C2, seems to be more of that. A lot of talk and not much evidence.
Honourable Député de Shefford.
The honourable member for Shefford. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech. He raised border security. I live in an area that's not far from the U.S. border. So I've looked into the question of border checkpoints, and under the Conservatives, there were a lot of cuts in this area. Then the Liberals came to power. They said they'd have a new approach, and they said they would improve the situation for the border, but they didn't actually offer more funding for border officers. We believe that this is really the key to improve security. What does my colleague think?
Merci.
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge. I'd like to thank the Bloc Québécois for these comments. Well, the situation that we're seeing at the border is a real deterioration. Roxham Road, not far from Montreal. We know that it's a difficult situation. We, the Conservatives, want to increase the number of border positions by adding thousands of positions for border agents. We want to stop drug and human trafficking. And we want to make sure that there aren't just guards at official checkpoints. We want to instead make sure that the entire border is being monitored, not just official checkpoints. Because illegal migrants can simply take another path over the border. We also would promote investing in scanners at ports, among other measures. We need to take our border issues seriously.
Matsqui, Abbotsford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. According to Statistics Canada, total sexual assaults have risen 74.83%, 90% of which are against women. Why, if the member could comment, why has the Liberal Party enacted policies that have done so much to hurt and damage women? Do they not respect the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the rights of women to live free of fear of being hurt in our society?
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge, a brief answer.
Thank you for the member's comments, question. And it is stunning because the Liberals have brought laws that essentially forces judges to release criminals on the least onerous terms and as quick as possible. And so basically it's chaos. It's not just chaos, it's dangerous. And women are feeling it. Thank you.
Resuming debate.